Welcome to the Wrestling Informer show number 4. I'm Kev Manning. I'm from the Lingus Mafia podcast. All of my nonsense is at Lingus Mafia. I am along with your informer. He is at Billy, Billik 100. That's Mr. Billy Body. What's happening, Billy boy?
4 episodes means we lasted on this thing a month.
Yeah, very surprisingly. I mean, not without the hatred in, which you're going to address in a minute. But I wanted to first
there isn't that much hatred. I want to address some people, but yeah,
yes.
It's fine. Yeah.
So I wanted to address something we're all wrestling fans. We're all marks. Obviously, we all collected all this nonsense growing up and still do, some of us. I'm having a giveaway on my show, which you could find everything you need to know at Lingus Mafia on Twitter if you want to see all the prizes that I am giving away. Here's a very few that Billy's dying for. One is a WWF turnbuckle. I have signed stuff by Bret Hart. There's a Ted DiBiase card in there. I have a plaque signed by The Undertaker. And, I mean, I have trunks signed by Bret the Hitman Hart as well, along with Hogan stuff, Austin stuff. So I'm having a giveaway to sign up to some of my things, but go to at Lingus Mafia. I'll have pictures on there of everything. Be one of the first 100 to sign up, and you will have a 1 out of 10 chance to win this merchandise. That's all I needed to say. Everyone here is a wrestling fan that's into all this stuff. I got a ton of it, and I'm adding to it, and I'm giving away 10 giant packages.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing to me is that like I think all the stuff is great, but obviously like I own a lot of wrestling stuff. My WrestleFest machine is sitting in a corner. You know, if I want something, I'll just buy it. I mean, I have had some decent earning high 6-figure years in my life, so it's not a case where I think some of the stuff isn't worth me having. But that turnbuckle, I can't actually buy that. So that's why, like last week, the best thing about last week was we did a bit, and I never saw the stuff. Cav just told me there was stuff, and he got my genuine reactions. So we were told that the beginning of last week's show was too choppy to make it onto YouTube. So you didn't get my genuine reaction, but immediately my reaction is, I want that. My mindset is still, I want that, because as I said, met Hogan, I point the camera
because this is enormous for somebody else. Look how big this is for somebody who does not have this. This is a signed by Hulk Hogan framed picture from Mania 6. This is being given away as well on that. So
I don't want to disconnect my headset, but if you look over here, there's that belt over there in the corner. It's signed by Bret, Shawn Michaels, and Hogan. You got the WrestleFest machine over there. There's a cabinet full of signed figures there. If we had more light, you'd be able to see. Actually, let me. Shall I point my light towards there, and maybe it'll improve it? 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, Billy has like a ton of. He collects. I mean, we've all been through this and collected as much stuff as we can. We've met half these people and gotten autographs. Nobody says we're beneath that. That's for sure. So throughout the years, we've collected all this stuff, and I do a little wrestling show on the side. So this is to get people to come over to sign up. It's a $5 tier. So let's see what Billy's got over here. What do you got, Billy?
Oh, yeah, let me just disconnect.
Okay. So Billy's microphone is now disconnected. There it is, back on. So he's got. I've never seen anybody who had so many signed things. He should be on one of those hidden treasure shows. There you go.
There's stuff in the cupboard. So I had this painted here, but if you go underneath, you can maybe make out that that's signed to me, a Warrior.
Yeah, you can see it's signed. Yeah, it's signed by Warrior. Yeah, so he had his whole apartment painted with this kind of stuff. And there's the other belt signed by Hitman and Shawn and Hogan, you say, too?
Yeah, you won't make them out because the lighting in here is terrible. So, and there's a cupboard of signed wrestlers there.
Jesus.
I like my Diesel there because it says, hit the weights, take a shower, get a clue. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff is not out now because, as I said, when I'm a bit like disinterested in the product, other than
see, I want the WrestleFest. I'll trade you the turnbuckle for the WrestleFest.
See, here's me and Austin with Hogan up here, right?
Yeah,
and that is where the turnbuckle is going to go. That picture will go somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm getting a hookup to get Billy a turnbuckle, in exchange for some other stuff for some services of his. So if you want to see
what's not wrestling related is this is more expensive than my wrestling stuff.
What is that? Who is that? I can't tell. Is that Muhammad Ali?
Yeah, it's a signed Muhammad Ali.
See, I've stopped. Like, I would do all the wrestling stuff like you do, you know, and have all this kind of stuff. And then it's like, I'd rather have like the kind of stuff I have here you can see in the background, like my Chicago Bears signed stuff, you know, even though I think Aaron Rodgers owns those things behind me, but I keep them anyway. But yeah, go to @Lingus Mafia. I have a pinned picture of some of the things. Signed Rock, signed Austin, signed Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, DiBiase. All that stuff is going to be given away. And I have more things coming in as we speak. And I was getting texts from the guy about some other big-time surprise stuff that we might have coming our way soon for podcasts that me and Billy do. But
right here, actually, let me just turn my phone light on because otherwise it will get so dark.
Yeah, it's nighttime in England at this point too.
Yeah, because like we're on a massive time difference.
Yeah, we got 8 hours time difference between us.
If you can even see this, no, you probably can't.
Nah,
there's a light shining on it. Can you see it at all?
Yeah, you got what do you got in there? Figures?
Yeah, let me turn it on.
I'll store it away. He has so many things that he has a cabinet with figures that he rotates for display.
Yeah, I can't. There's no light in this room.
Nah. There you go. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, people can see all that. Jesus. And you know what? This is going to end up the first topic of the show, because it's going to be about people that have complained about the show length before we get to the news. The first thing I want to say about that before you get into it is a very simple one-sentence type of thing. This channel also has all the topics chopped up into 5-minute bits. So if you're watching this entire long length of a show, you're watching a show. You're not just give me the news. It's all chopped up all over the channel where they could just get the news in those bits. Go ahead, Billy. What do you want to say?
Well, I wouldn't have said that bit because like people may go, all right, and fine. But that's kind of,
they've already clicked this. What the is the difference? Sorry.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but I guess I mean that essentially is sometimes my issue with WWE, where the product's so bad that you can actually consume it on YouTube, and the fact that I think their ratings might be higher if they didn't give people that alternative, but they're so obsessed with their social media numbers that that's what they think is salvaging, you know, everything for them, like where they can turn around and go, oh, content isn't consumed by the same way that it used to be. Content is consumed in various different ways. Look at our social media metrics, and people like buy into that. So I almost feel they would be doing better. The product would still be bad, like Raw would still be awful, but I think Raw would do better if you didn't see all the best bits in the top 10 and highlighted and everything like that. But I mean, in this instance, we're not Raw. I don't think that we are boring in any way. We may be boring to some people, but as I say, we are the #1 podcast for a demographic, a particular demographic, and demos are very big at the moment. And we are #1 with demos, with the demo where males 18 to 99 who have actually had intercourse. So that is where
we're number one. We're number one.
We are #1. If you're a male 18 to 99 and you've had some intercourse in your life, then we are the #1 wrestling podcast. And that's the kind of show that we do. And the bottom line is that, look, I wasn't plucked from obscurity or anything like that. I've been coming on Keep It 100 for nearly a year. I've been doing this exact show, exactly like this, with Russo, where me and Russo would banter a little bit on the free show that we would do, and then on the show as well. And we wouldn't just go straight through the topics because that would be a 10-minute show. So this is an established show that Keep It 100 wanted. So we are giving them what they wanted. They asked for the show. This isn't an accident. This didn't happen by itself. And we've also been on the Dirty Sheets for 7 years with tons and tons of listeners on there as well that appreciate the banter and the other discussions that we do. If you just want the basic news stuff, then you can fast forward to it. But you don't need to put your dumb comments here going, oh, this is when the news starts, because a lot of people are here for the other stuff. And that's why, because we come from an established show where what we do works. What we do works because Keep It 100 asked me to come and work here and leave the existing show that I was doing. You're not getting a brand new show. As much as it is new and it says episode 4 on the top, this isn't an established 20 months show. I'm an established source in wrestling. I've nailed everything, every major story in the last 4 or 5 years. And in the bottom line is, I don't like to shove this down people's throats as much, but I auditioned for a TV show once, the biggest show in my country, where 500,000 people lined up outside in queues to sell themselves for 30 seconds. 500,000 people were narrowed down to 50,000 people. 50,000 people were narrowed down to 10,000 people. 10,000 people were narrowed down to 2,500 people, and so on, until we got down to 22 people. That production company who made that TV show found me interesting enough to put me on the show out of 22 people out of 500,000. So if you don't have any interest in what I have to say and you're not entertained by me, I couldn't give a because a company, a major company and a big TV show on a big TV channel decided that they wanted to put my face in front of 8 million people because I could entertain my country on a week-to-week basis on this reality show. So for me, I couldn't give a shit what any of you think, and I never will, because my bank account and the opinions of people that matter say something completely different. So skip ahead, do your mark, go to like the news and go, and you know, you can get that anywhere else. You can get around and go, oh, AEW did 0.47 in the 18 to 49 demographic, and Smackdown did a 0.53 or whatever. We don't do that kind of shit. We don't repeat the shit that you can just go and read all the time. I do mostly exclusive news that comes to fruition, and that's what you'll get here. And if you don't like it and you don't like the way it's done, well, you know, just go and subscribe to thedailysheets.com and you can just read it and get it from there. Or, you know, continue going to your other sources that are mostly incorrect or mostly irrelevant. Like as I said, we get Sean Ross Sapp's news, and we plan to actually troll him on the show by just reading out his but it was too boring to read. That was actual boring, go to sleep content. To the point where me and Cav have been laughing about it when it's been coming through.
Yeah, and if anybody didn't realize, Billy was the villain on Big Brother. If you didn't catch on to that at all, but yeah,
but it's like I can't do that show. That's not me. And I think also, like, you know, Conan is friends with Dave Meltzer and other people in the business. You could have got someone else in here to do it. But the fact is that, like, I've been going on their show for the past year, and I've been on Russo's show, and they said, come on over. I don't think they brought me over here to read a piece of paper. I really don't.
No, of course not. That's why it's having a personality and having something else to say and having a back and forth, which people shut the F up, give me the news, move on. Okay, well, like I said, if you want to find it easier, it's chopped up. I wanted to ask you, moving on from that, we both ran into something this week on Twitter. Not my Twitter at Lingus Mafia, not Billy's at Billy K100. However, our old colleague, Mr. Vince Russo, who, this is the best part. Let me say this first before I'll let you explain what happened. But I find this to be very funny. Last week, Billy has been hammering Russo since everything parted. He hammers him. I go, and people go, why is he still? And this audience has said as well, why do you keep going after Russo? Give it up. It's old. It's done. I have talked to Billy. Paul Side said, listen, it's over with. You found a nice new place. You're happier now. It's time to let go of this other hatred and move on. Not hatred, but, you know, pissiness, and move on, and everything gone. And Billy goes, you know, we're in a better place now. I'm going to move on. I'm going to be done with all this stuff. Bygones, bygones. I like the guy for the person he is, everything like that. I think we'll be done with this. And then a video shows up. And Billy, as he was turning face, he turned back heel. And I don't know if I could disagree with. I put my hands up and I said, I gave it a try. Because it is the most insane thing.
Because he offered us a show to come back, right? That's what people don't know. He said, look, if you feel like you're losing money with the news and you don't want to give me your news, you don't feel like I'm doing enough with it, and there's another show that want it, that's all by, then you can go. But he says, this is what he said to Cav. He didn't say it to me. He said to Cav, look, I understand why he went, but he goes, I like him, and you guys are welcome to come back, come do something on the brand again, which wasn't news related. So we were mulling that over and wondering, like,
we could just do any type of show. We could do our, that man show type of just us BSing, because he doesn't care if it's a wrestling related, whatever. Go ahead.
But so do you have the clip to hand?
Oh, no, I don't have. I could find it real quick and play what he wants to do.
I'm looking for it in the same place as you, which is just my WhatsApp to you. So yeah, I got it anyway. So let me just play it, and then I'll explain the context.
Will I do a show?
Here we go.
Bro, will I do a show? The Attitude Era, hour by hour, where maybe I will break down every Raw 1 hour at a time. So I'm kicking that around. I may do that. I will see. I'm kicking it around. I'm kicking around a lot of other ideas.
Pause it.
Kicking around an idea of reviewing.
I thought you wanted to play. I thought you wanted to play the next bit. So
we'll go in pieces. We'll go in pieces because there's a lot to discuss on each thing. So he is now saying he told us, and personally, even like off air, he had said, I don't like talking, and it was very heartfelt. I don't like talking about my career. It's old, it's over with, it's done with. I don't want to do it. I was doing it as a favor on a podcast, on a poll. Okay. I don't understand. How do you say now you want to do a show where you watch? This is podcast on a poll. This is the same show, but hour by hour. He didn't watch it with us. And now he wants to do a show on his own where he watches hour by hour and talks about it.
Are you looking for
more? Why?
Are you looking for a more intellectual and complicated answer then? He's a liar. This is his reputation. And why are you surprised? Like, because
yes, I do, because I don't buy that part. I don't think it's that. Look, I don't understand. I'm bewildered by it.
Did you fall in love with this guy? That's what I'm trying to understand. You like making excuses for a girl that you're getting back with that cheated on you.
No, I don't have an issue with him. That's the thing. I'm like I've said, I don't know if it's grown over time of being older, but if you're not happy to do something, I'm all for, you're not happy with it, then don't do it too. The same way he said to you, right? If we're not happy, let's just be done with it. But you said you're not happy with it, and now you want to do it on your own show again.
Here's the thing. I feel the complete opposite way to you. I think that we pitched him a really good idea, and he said he didn't want to do it, and I think he was keeping it in his back pocket to do it by himself. When he turned, so originally he wanted me to go on to Russo's brand, and when we talked about what do you want, like how much you expecting to get paid. Like, yeah. I told him, I don't know what to expect, but this is what I get for a podcast. He goes, oh, that's too much for me. So I said, let's do this then. What I'll do your show. You do my show. We'll find something for you over at the date sheets. You're Vince Russo at the end of the day. So, yeah. and we'll make it less. I will give you 2 to 1, right? I will give you 2 to 1. I gave him that respect. I will give you an hour and a half, 30 minutes on the preview on YouTube, an hour on your show. You just give me 45 minutes a week and I'll come up with something. And what we came up with was revisiting and rejuvenating back to the Monday Night Wars. So we said, all right, Vince, every week we want you to come on and talk about the Raw that week. So we're gonna pick a point in time. And from that point, so if we start, let's say August 1997, right? Yeah. We're going to start in August 2020. Okay. August 2020 and August 97 will correlate. We'll pick the first week of August. That'll be the first week of 97. in 2020. So in 2020, we're going to cover the first week of August 97. That's how we're going to do it.
All in exact time that many years later.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. First week of August in 2020 will be the first week of August in 97. Yeah, bro, that sounds fine. You know, if it's going to be like 45 minutes, whatever. So that was my payment. Didn't start. Too busy. I got this thing with my eye. I got this thing with my wife. I'm recording this documentary about China. So much to the point where he just said, look, Vince, what are we doing? And bear in mind, that's my agreement to do his show. So I haven't been paid for the 4 months. I know I'm rehashing the stuff, but the fact is that what he just talked about was our exact idea that he said he was too busy to do. So we came up with the 1 month idea of Podcast and a Poll. And because I was doing 6 hours for his 1 hour, he decided that he would pay me something in the end, but he did give me that money every month without an issue. So he continues to phone it in on our show. And we eventually broach the subject and say, you know, what's going on? And he says, bro, I just hate talking about myself. I hate talking about this. It's all in the past. It doesn't interest me anymore. Blah, 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 blah. This is his excuse for why he didn't want any notes, for why he couldn't catch up with like 20 minutes a month. Just, you know, if just look at the questions, and if you don't remember anything, just go back and check it, watch it, Google it, YouTube it. Just do something out of respect for the fact that I'm giving you 6 hours of solid content, the most popular show on your brand that people are signing up for. And you could actually do a lot with it if you gave it to the dirt sheets or had a good relationship with anyone in this business. You'd be able to do something with that news. Instead, all he wanted to do was build up his subscribers behind a paywall, not give me an extra penny, not give me a split, pay me. Come on and do 1 month on Podcast and a Poll, 1 hour a month on Podcast and a Poll, and phone it in and not know the answer to anything, to the point where I asked Cav, do you think he really wrote as much as he said, or was he just, or is he just blown it out of proportion? Was he the guy that just actually threw out a whole bunch of ideas and then he saw a load of his stuff on TV and decided to say, yeah, I wrote that. I wrote this. I wrote that. Because I completely believe that he wrote stuff for the underneath guys when there was nothing there. And Vince McMahon thought, we're not doing with them anyway, so we'll put Russo stuff on TV. But there ain't no way that guy wrote for the Hart Foundation. There ain't no way that guy wrote for Bret the Hitman Hart. And there ain't no way that guy wrote any main event stuff for The Rock and Austin when they were going up against each other or whatever. I just don't buy into it. Just based on his not remembering anything, his complete and utter lack of organization. Cav, he dealt with him with something the other week where he couldn't organize himself. He's just completely unreliable.
You know, and when he's doing the only excuse I could see about this new show that he wants to do is, well, it's not talking about his career. So he's not.
We didn't want to talk about his career, though. We wanted to talk about Raw every week.
Yeah.
He turned it into his career. Once it was Podcast and a Poll, and we found that name because it couldn't be the old show that we used to do.
Yeah.
That then turned into the Russo thing. Podcast and a Poll is a Russo thing. Podcast and a Poll is a reason why a certain guest that we want to get on may be on the fence at the moment because we've gone with that name.
Yeah, and I've gotten some information about that while we were talking, by the way, which I'll talk to you offline about. But still pushing forward. Play the rest of the clips.
I don't want to spend too long on this because people will cry. But,
I know. I was going to say, well, you're going to make people cry. But then we have news right after this.
WWE stars from the past. I'm talking about people up like Shawn Michaels.
Wait, did I miss
You missed what he wanted to do about it, yeah.
I'm kicking around an idea of reviewing Rampage with WWE stars from the past. I'm talking about people up like Shawn Michaels. I'm talking about people like, let's see, who else would be a part of that? The Undertaker would be a part of that. Austin would be a part of that. Rock would be a part of that.
Rock, how's he going to get all those guys, Cav?
You missed the best one.
Way too many names to mention.
You got to go back because you missed the best one.
There you go. That was it. This is no. Here we go. Listen carefully.
Rock would be a part of that. Owen Hart would be a part of that. Bret Hart. Way too many names to mention.
So Vince Russo is now going to resurrect the dead for the brand. Listen, I'd pay $5 to hear Owen Hart speaking on his show.
Now, when I first heard that, when I first heard it, I go, first of all, how is WWE allowing Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker to go review Rampage with him? And then I'm like, did he just say Owen Hart would be doing this? And so we have somebody who subscribes.
I think he's got more chance of getting Owen Hart than The Rock.
Like Tony Clifton, you know who Tony Clifton is? That Andy Kaufman character where they said, we want Andy Kaufman, and he goes, well, somebody get some shovels and some flashlights. We'll go get Andy Kaufman. So I'm like, so we got a guy who goes, no, you know what? Jason Sensation was on his show the other day. So I think that's what he's talking about, that he would have Jason Sensation on doing those voices. But I'm like, I don't understand how that bit would go more than 5 minutes, because is it going to be a one-liner by Shawn Michaels about what happened on Rampage? And I mean, how funny is it going to be? And then Undertaker's going to go, oh, F Tony Khan. I don't know what the hell he's going to say.
How did this dude go from refusing to watch SmackDown
to watching Rampage?
I'll skip SmackDown. I'll skip Dynamite. I'll just go to Rampage.
Rampage, of all things. I was like, the worst of the shows? What? I mean, that's what I do on my Lingus Mafia on the WrestleLingus tier. I do Rampage and Dynamite together for one show, and then all WWE. It's bad enough I got to do it. What the hell's he doing?
Once we did review something where someone did Rampage.
Let's go into the first.
Did that go over your head for a second?
It did. It flew right past me. Now
we should start with Xavier Woods news, but we won't. We'll run in order.
Oh God, I had a line about Xavier Woods on my WrestleLingus show today. That's on the Dirty Sheets on their feed, as well as my Lingus Mafia feed. We talked about in the news here about WWE versus AEW and the ratings. Can you give me some insight about this? Because I want to hear what you say, and I want to tell you my thoughts on this.
All right. So I asked about this a lot, because when you go 30 minutes commercial free, you do seem like you are competing with these guys when you add that 30 minutes. But
yes,
from my understanding, in the locker room, there is zero talk about ratings, where this AEW are claiming they won the Friday nights because they won one demo. Look, AEW got embarrassed. Like, that wasn't close. They beat you by 300,000 people, right?
Yeah.
There's smaller countries in that, like by the amount of people that they beat you by. So AEW didn't win anything. This whole thing with the demos and everything, that's why I joked about it at the top of the show when I said, like, we are the top demo. And it's not like we don't care about virgins, because Aiden, we do care about you. So yeah, so that's the thing. Like, it's so odd that they're desperately doing this, and it's weird that it's not like the fans. It's the owner that's on there arguing with people. And this owner is like 5 times richer than Vince McMahon. And you never see Vince ever do this. And he's out there like going, oh, we won this, but people aren't talking about this. And, well, let's go team and all this stuff. The WWE are not talking about it at all. Now,
yeah,
I don't know for a fact if Supersized SmackDown was a legit attempt to hurt AEW. However, what I do know is that WWE are in discussions with Fox to make the extra 30 minutes permanent moving forward. This is to compensate for ratings not being where Fox expected them to be during this deal, and to rebuild what is a fractured relationship. Now, WWE would get no extra money on top of the current deal that they have, because it's a huge deal anyway, where they're getting $200 million a year. But it would help build this relationship. To go back to some of the stories that I've done before, the reason why this relationship is fractured is for numerous reasons. Number one, the ratings are not strong. Number two, Brock Lesnar and Becky Lynch, people like that, haven't bounced around and been featured on SmackDown, and they have been talents who have been advertised on Fox. Number three, WWE did a Peacock deal without speaking to Fox about it, which puts them deeper in bed with NBC. Number 4, it's come to the attention of Fox that WWE are already negotiating and talking to streaming networks for the next renewal of Smackdown, because streaming networks are desperate to get on the map. People like Apple TV are desperate and will pay more money for WWE to have live content. Number 5 is the CM Punk deal. They brought CM Punk back to the table to fix that relationship. Once CM Punk was talking to AEW, Fox then spoke to WWE and said, we have to stop this. Once WWE made a case that he wasn't worth the salary, using fraudulent numbers and comparing him to Edge and John Cena, using 7 years of numbers as opposed to Punk's real time in the main event, Fox turned around and said, we'll pay the difference. Whatever you don't want to pay for his salary, we'll pay it. We'll get CM Punk onto SmackDown, to which WWE still said, no, it's bad for our locker room. It's bad for our company. He's very difficult to work with, and we just don't want him under any circumstances. So there are numerous reasons why this relationship has gone south, and this is a way to rectify it. Now, it's already starting with other trials as opposed to, do WWE need to actually put wrestling on there, or can they get away with talking smack? Are we going to see the first 30 minutes of SmackDown on FS1? Because FS1 doesn't actually usually do 800,000 people. So this is seen as a success if they can get anywhere near 1 million people actually watching FS1, which is like a dead channel. So anything WWE can do, suddenly they do become an asset. So you may see 30 minutes on FS1 somewhere, be it talking smack moving over, be it, I don't think it'll be the end of the show. That would be ridiculous to say it's the whole show for 2 hours, but the main event is on FS1. But the beginning could easily go there, where it's like a preview,
the pre-show,
something will be there. So in a nutshell, they are looking at ways for SmackDown to be 2.5 hours and are experimenting with it, regardless of AEW. Once Tony Khan set out that tweet, my understanding is when he said, "Now I realize you want to go head to head with us," then they decided that they were going to go commercial free. So I think that he may have been his own worst enemy by doing that, because the commercial 3 thing, I don't think was announced before the tweet. This is obviously just my opinion, and I want to make that clear. But yeah, I don't think that they were competing with them initially as much as people think, or doing that on purpose.
Yeah, when they said right away, like WWE was, that last half hour is going to be commercial free, I was like, the first thing I thought is, you guys are terrified of AEW. It just reeked of, stay here, please don't go anywhere. We'll be commercial free. And for me, I'm able to be watching both usually, but since this was on FS1, because I'm on West Coast, so Fox would be, I would get it later on. But now, since it was on FS1, I wasn't able to be doing them both. So of course I watched the end of SmackDown. I'm in SmackDown. And then after that was over, I went onto DVR and watched the other one. But then I hear on the other one, this first match is going to be commercial free, which I'm assuming it was half hour, and it went 17 minutes. But I'm like, okay, everybody is, at least AEW says flat out, we're trying to beat you guys, where WWE doesn't acknowledge them, because first place never acknowledges second place. So, but it really sounded like they were terrified when they said we're going commercial free the last half hour. And it looked like we were scrambling against the clock for the signing. Hurry up, get everything in the ring, run to the ring. Roman's entrance takes 10 minutes as it is. And they only had 9 minutes at the end of the match to get this whole contract signing done, which I felt they ran through as quick as humanly possible. So Brock got paid for 3 minutes of work that night.
Yeah, and here's the thing, because I don't think they're worried about them. The CM Punk thing might have been scary at the start, but they knew it was going to go there if they didn't sign him. And I don't feel like it's succeeded. And here's the irony. The exact type of idiots who come on this show and put, just get to the news, and they don't have any patience, don't understand that there's an entertainment aspect to doing every show. They're the same people that want to say the CM Punk booking has been botched. They turn around and say, you don't have any patience. You don't have any patience. You don't know what they're doing. It's being done perfectly. It is not being done perfectly if they're doing 500,000 people on Rampage. It's not been done perfectly if he's selling for vanilla midgets that haven't got any wins on major TV. It's not being done perfectly. I don't know if Tony Khan's booking it or if he's such a little bitch that he lets CM Punk come in and he's such a fanboy because he's fanboyed for him in every press conference. He's done everything but take his trousers off and suck so far. So that's Tony Khan for you. So that doesn't make any sense to me. If he's letting him do this and he's letting him be Mr. Commentator, less is more. Coming on and being on every other Dynamite and going straight into a feud with MJF would be the better way to go. Doing what he's doing now devalues CM Punk so much. Well, you haven't seen him for 7 years. Now you can't see a show without him. You're now seeing him twice a week. It's ridiculous. It doesn't work. That's not how. And this guy's Booker of the Year is a complete joke. Like anybody with this budget would have gone up against WWE. If Bischoff had come back, and he's been very critical this week. If someone said, "Hey, you know how to beat WWE. Here's an unlimited budget," he would have done it again. Especially now with how bad Raw is, he would have gone. He said, "Why don't you just go directly head to head?" And if you got that fan base of these so-called like 18 to 40s or whatever. Like you should be able to take a huge chunk of Raw away, but they don't have the balls to do it. They don't even have the balls to run a special. But as I said, Eric Bischoff wouldn't be booking an expensive indie show with long matches that don't mean anything. He would be booking some serious TV that you don't want to miss any of the and they would be competing, guaranteed.
My biggest problem with the Punk thing, and I've said this on my show and everything, is that. God bless Punk. He wants to give back to the business. I get that. And I could see clearly that that's what he is doing. He's saying, let me work with the younger guys and help them and get them over and this and that. But it does him a disservice because he's had the match with Undertaker seemed easier, in the world of wrestling, that he didn't have to put as much energy into that match than he has with the guys that he's doing these matches with now. He's going like 30 minutes with nobodies where you're like, and he's coming out at the end with a victory. And I'm like, 15, oh my God, you're killing yourself to get a win here to make it look like I barely pulled one off. That just devalues his merch. I'm like, it knocks him down. When he fought Undertaker, it was an easier go through. It seemed. I'm like, You're struggling with nobodies, and I get that you're selling for them and all that kind of stuff to make them look good. But he needs to be on like Superstars where it's just beating people.
I don't understand that philosophy from this company because it's stupid. If everybody looks good, if Kenny takes 20 minutes to beat someone, if Cody takes 20 minutes to beat everybody, if Punk takes 20 minutes to beat everybody, how do we remember the guy that went 20 minutes? Darby was the chosen one, right? Who got the first match with him and almost beat him. He had some like near falls in the match and, he narrowly lost. You've already told that story. Now you devalue the fact that Darby was chosen because everybody gets to go close with him. Everybody gets to almost beat him. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody's getting over here because they're not facing you and then going on and getting wins like down the bottom of the card. Because if you're getting over, the idea of getting over is, I established that guy. Now you go on and beat somebody. These guys aren't going on to beat anybody. They just continue to be losers who had one close match with CM Punk because what's the message here? CM Punk can barely beat anybody now. He's 40. Like, what? I don't understand. This is stupid. It's not getting anyone over. That's not how
Anytime I see these matches with him that go this long against a nobody, it reminds me of him having the interview he did with Colt where he told Rusev, all right, I'm going to be in the ring when you come in. And Rusev was new. And he's like, this is your chance to shine. Do something to me. And he's like, I'll kick you. And he's like, no, throw me around. Make yourself something by beating the shit out of me. I feel that in my head every time he's in there with them. Like he's telling them, here's your chance. Do something to me because I'm a big star. But like you said, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's everyone who is doing this to them. And then they don't go on to do anything anyway. So he needs to have these 10-minute, at longest, 10 minutes against some of these nobodies and, keep on moving. I don't necessarily need him to go against MJF the second he walked in. He could have other storylines, so you wait for it.
But, second, third match, he should only be facing the top guys. He should be going in an upwards trajectory. Darby Allin was the bottom. He should never have gone down to Team Taz. You have to go up from Darby Allin. You must do. And I don't know what that trajectory looks like in AEW necessarily, but I would imagine it would go something like Moxley, MJF, then do maybe a babyface match with Hangman, or get back in there with Daniel Bryan. Like these, or Adam Cole. These, before you win the belt. These are the matches you've got to have. Obviously, you need to save people on the other side of that for when you are champion. But yeah. I think this guy could be a year or two away from being champion. It's ridiculous. Like,
yeah, I agree with you. It's and it's a fine line at the same time. Like, you don't want him to just run through all the big ones. Like, you need a couple. But like I said, those could be even the superstar matches where he's just showing off his, and getting out there for the people to see him. So we haven't seen Karrion Kross in a while. Couple weeks now, and inconspicuous by his absence. What do you know that is going on with him?
It's just such a mess. From losing on the first night to not coming in with Scarlett to then deciding that we're going to do something, do something with him. I mean, they were going to do something with him anyway. The loss. Now, there's a story out there that I put out where before the loss, where I said there was some heat on him for like a little altercation with Adam Cole. Mm-hmm. And also because it's been like said that he has some jealousy issues, that he's like sometimes short with people who he thinks knew his girlfriend before him, because she's been around the scene. And there are some personal stories that I know of a couple of guys that she's been with before him. And yeah, I mean, he's aware of that, but it wasn't a case of he's a to people. It was a case of, he's got his like wits about him. He's got his like sensors on to see who's she talking to, where is she, how does she know this person? Like, and he's not said to be
Macho Man over here.
He's not Macho Man, not at all. He's definitely not Macho Man, but he's definitely not like everybody's best friend. Like, I think this could be confused with being a guy that keeps himself to himself. Anyway, long story short, because I've already done the whole story about it, there was questions about his attitude and how much they wanted to push him, mainly because of his age, because he's well into his 30s. And there was some like stupid little tests there. One was Austin Theory saying those are huge when he was talking about Scarlett's like nails. The other thing was, giving him some losses, but actually, and taking Scarlett away from him as well was another one. But actually, the Jeff Hardy loss wasn't actually one of these like lesson learning losses. This was a thing where they decided to do, where they turned around and went, we're back live. We're back live in front of crowds. We need to send a message that anything can happen when we're live. The most unexpected result of the night will be a debutante losing. This was so short-sighted. This was so Vince McMahon that I found it difficult to see how the guy was going to get back from it. And now he's gone into the bondage gear, even though he is winning. And now I'm hearing that they're not 100% behind that. Obviously, they've seen stuff on social media, and he's going back to a psycho gimmick. Now, I don't know if the bondage gear is completely gone. However, they are moving into a direction where he's going to be portrayed as being a bipolar schizophrenic.
Really? He's turned into almost a Lars Sullivan to me.
That's the character they wanted. So they're obviously going back to that. Yeah, he is. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that he was just coming in for Lars, who they were absolutely in love with, until he kept doing things to get himself taken off TV.
Yeah, until he was getting blown by people on camera. Any word? I mean, I doubt you even know about this. Is any word? Where the hell is Scarlett? Is she showing up with him on this next go around?
There's lots of like stuff about that. I mean, the initial idea is that he would get into a situation where she would be a difference maker. So they wanted to bring her in individually. During that, I know there was some fine tuning with her down at the Performance Center in terms of at the time establishing her as someone that could wrestle as well, so that they could do mixed tags, things like that. And yeah, but now I'm hearing a little bit more about personal issues, which nobody's talking about. I heard something from somebody who's not one of my usual sources, but but I heard something from somebody that said that she's taking a break because Don Callis is back on TV, and Don Callis, who works at AEW, once tried to proposition her, and apparently, like, seeing him on TV causes her like issues where she wants to break from wrestling. Now that sounds like to me. The Callis story isn't, I don't think, because there's definitely something where something went down between those two. There was a falling out between Don Callis and her, but I don't know whether it's a case of, oh my God, I can't be in this industry at the moment because he's in it, because they're not even on the same show. So
yeah,
somewhere along the line, somebody's like added up 1 and 1 and got to 3. But in all honesty, I cannot find out what's going on because nobody's. I think this is a very much a case of it's only being kept between them. But also, with him coming onto TV and doing this, I can pretty much tell you at this point, it wasn't done like this in order to. It wasn't like Plan A, basically, to say, oh, let's take him away from Scarlett and completely like demasculate him. The irony is it was done that way on Main Event. So when Karrion Kross was on Main Event and he was sent down there, and it was done in a very unglamorous way, it was done to show you what he would look like without her, without the entrance, and without everything that WWE put in, because he was like heated at Adam Cole, cutting that in a promo unscripted. And as I said, like, as you know, Adam Cole could say what he wanted to because he's leaving anyway. He knew he was leaving because his wife's at AEW. So Adam Cole dropped that in, and he was pissed off about it. And then next week is on Main Event without his entrance and everything. That was done as a lesson, which is why people are getting confused. But moving him onto the main roster and actually starting there without Scarlett, that was not Plan A. But obviously, you couldn't sit there and wait on this because you're paying a guy to go to work. So he's not going to get time off while his girlfriend gets time off, because that's not how this industry works.
That is a very interesting story. Next thing you want to talk about here is what is happening with The Rock. We haven't heard about him in a while.
I think this is probably the big story of the week. So it's out there, and for me, like on my platform, it's been out there for ages. The WWE want The Rock for WrestleMania 39 now, which is in Hollywood. Now, there was a concession that wouldn't be happening. And the concession came from the fact that there were talks between WWE and The Rock. And The Rock said very, very clearly to the WWE, I don't know about WrestleMania 39 right now. I'm not very busy for WrestleMania 38. I have cut my schedule right down. I'm available. I'm mainly focused primarily on promoting the XFL. And if I can come onto your television and talk about the XFL product and the launch of the XFL, I'll be happy to do WrestleMania against Roman. So they had a commitment for Dallas Stadium from The Rock. But for some reason, they are choosing to roll the dice and say thank you for saying when you can do it and when you want to do it and what you want to do. But we really want you for Hollywood.
Wow.
And we're willing to wait for that. And if they do that, not only will that cost them a load more money, but you run the risk of any kind of major project coming in the way.
Yep.
Look, if it's Disney, another Disney film, and bearing in mind, he's one of the actors who didn't stupidly bash Disney for Disney Plus. You know how a bunch of these people, like, who's the actress who plays Cruella?
Emma. Is that Emma Stone?
Emma Stone and Scarlett Johansson, they have like bashed Disney publicly, and they've like looked at like their legal rights in terms of compensation and all that. I don't expect to see Black Widow and Cruella again. Don't expect to see part 2 or extensions of those movies. I mean, Black Widow's dead in the Avengers anyway, so I don't know if there was going to be another film. But The Rock, he just said, I don't mind, I understand, I'm cool. Like, he is smart like that. So if Disney come knocking, or someone else comes knocking around about that time next year, or sorry, the year after, then WrestleMania is in serious jeopardy. This is a stupid risk to take. In addition to that, and this transitions onto the next story. So rather than you asking me about it, we'll talk about this collectively because it involves Roman Reigns. Looking at the King of the Ring this Thursday, the WWE are now torn between Balor and Woods. Woods came up with this idea and he was meant to win it. And the WWE are desperate to create credible faces for Roman. So let me talk you through the process of this. His hat is so bugging.
I know, you look like you're modeling over there constantly with this adjustment.
Yeah, it's because I haven't been home for days.
And you're sweating to death too, right?
No, I'm not sweating. I just had a shower. But yeah, I didn't have time to do my hair. It's the first shower I had in 2 days because I've been at the hospital. So the process of this, Xavier Woods pitches King of the Ring, pitches his ideas for being King of the Ring. They give it the green light, right? They come up with a women's thing at the same time. So Xavier's winning it. They cool off on Xavier Woods and decide that Finn Balor is winning it. Balor's the guy that needs the push. He's going to be a big deal on Raw. Then, over the last week or so, because of this whole Rock situation, the WWE decide we need credible faces for Roman. And it probably won't be a bad idea to get Nakamura ready, to get Kofi Kingston ready, to get Xavier Woods ready so that they can have title shots for Roman, because Roman is now going to have this belt for 2.5 years or longer.
I was going to ask you, does this mean since Rock won't be there until the next year that Roman is not losing that thing for that long? There's like nobody else to fight by then.
Yeah, I think you see a screw finish on Thursday, and I think you see Brock having another go at WrestleMania as well. So
all right, I'll accept that then, at least.
Which is the third time that matches headline WrestleMania, which is crazy. That's the same as the Rock and Austin, little trivia.
Wow.
Here's this situation. So they cooled off on Woods as for the reasons that we spoke about last week. And guys were in there going, oh, if you knew anything, you'd know Woods barely uses his Twitch. I'm not the ones who made the decision, you idiots. Like, I'm just telling you what the WWE saw. And they're the ones making the decision. Why don't you contact them and say, hey, Woods barely goes on Twitch. Maybe Woods has said to them, I barely go on Twitch, and here is what I do for up, down, down, or whatever, and my social media is relevant. I don't know. But the fact is they're very much on the fence. And here is the problem. Finn Balor is in the King of the Ring to win the King of the Ring. Otherwise, Balor wouldn't be in the King of the Ring. They don't want to put any more significant losses on Finn Balor while they are pushing Finn Balor on Raw as one of the main characters and are trying to, once again, elevate that Demon merchandise back into its top 5 where it always was when Balor was there. That is important to them. At the same time, they need to elevate opponents for Roman Reigns, but you don't want to put the loss on Balor. Had Xavier Woods been winning this tournament, they probably would have done a final where Xavier Woods would have beaten somebody like a Jinder or a Sheamus or a Cesaro or somebody that is acceptable here, not somebody who's in the midst of a big push, which is Finn Balor over on Raw. So this is a big problem, and it's going to be really interesting to see what way they go. If you're asking me to call it, I would say the decision's been made. It's going to be. But
do you think Finn Balor, all of a sudden, somebody jumps him in the back? He can't go, and this is their way out of it?
I don't think you send people to that dictatorship of a country and then not have them do anything. I think that would be weird.
He shows. I mean, he can show up afterwards with a sling and get his little. He jumps on the guy after the match is over and beats him up, give him a little program or whatever with the guy later on. But to have the two good guys go against each other at Crown Jewel, that's odd, right? Because I was like, this is odd. This is just odd to me. I did enjoy the stupid little stuff that Woods was doing, decreeing and calling them sir before he said. So I think he'd be able to do some funny stuff as a king, because it'd be all nonsensical stuff. With as goofy as they are out there, I think it would be entertaining what he would do. Like we said, we thought he would pretty much be Booker light.
The issue with that is you're trying to elevate his talent to be one of the people that faces Roman.
Which I can't. I mean, him going against Roman's ridiculous to me anyway. Talk about a mismatch looking thing, It
is, but that's the same if you decide to elevate Kofi. If you decide to then put Nakamura in the title picture from this point, if you decide to turn Sheamus babyface, I mean, even Drew McIntyre, the idea is, you know, initially was for Drew McIntyre to come in and work this Royal Rumble, but I don't even know if you can do that because you have this stadium show in England where Drew McIntyre will be in the main event, and it'll probably be for the title. So, are we going to see Roman go against the placeholder at the Royal Rumble, then go through your Woodses, your Kofis, your Nakamura's, your Brock Lesnar again at WrestleMania, your Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, and then do a whole new draft where you get a whole nother bunch of people in for him and has to beat all of them before he gets to The Rock and beats The Rock too, by the way. So then,
Jesus.
So then how do you
whoever takes it off him, Jesus Christ comes down and beats him.
So then you're looking at 3 years till SummerSlam, till he gets beat, possibly. I think you could easily beat him this weekend and have him like win it back. The other thing is I'm surprised by is that what they could do and what they definitely shouldn't do is they're so desperate. They were always, for all those years, they were so desperate to get Roman over as a babyface. Well, if Paul Heyman turns and goes with Brock Lesnar on Thursday, and he's been with Brock the whole time, and he's like, "Oh, you've always been my true love," then isn't Roman the babyface that you wanted suddenly?
Yeah, and he kind of does it like Austin, where he's not Mr. Smiley. He's doing the same exact gimmick, but fighting bad guys. That'd be the thing, because people love him as is with this character. If he turns back into the other Roman Reigns, he's going to get shit on immediately and be done. But the whole thing about Paul being with who, it would be such a mistake if he went with Brock, because Brock's not there. He has something to do now every week with Roman. So he'd be gone again. It's like, well, unless they just don't want him on TV and he'll come back whenever Brock is there. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel that Roman is going to leave with the belt. And they'll just continue that going. And I think this is your only direction now for WrestleMania if The Rock's not doing it. But I still think there's still time on that as well. I think it's crazy when the guy reaches out to you and he says, "I'm doing it. I want to do it. Actually, I want to do it on this day, on this at this date, at this time, and I want to do this, that, and the other." How do you turn around and go, "Nah, we want it when we want it. We want it in this location, in all this time in the future"? I don't know. I think it's a mistake.
Well, that brings us to the last segment before we're out of here, and that is right into Crown Jewel, which we're talking about. So Billy has some like betting odds and preview for what we're going to see at Crown Jewel. If you guys are all in locations that you can bet on wrestling, because if you can bet on wrestling, oh my God, I wish I was able to bet on wrestling, but California, you could barely do any betting at all. They'll yell at you over here. So what do we got, Billy, for some odds for Crown Jewel?
Okay, so I've got Roman and Brock first, and they've got Roman at 1-4 and Brock Lesnar at 5-2. What this means is if you put $20 on Brock Lesnar, you'll make a $50 profit, so you'll end up with 70 altogether. If you put $400 on Roman, you need to that's the only way you win 100. So to put it in an easier way, you need to bet $400 on Roman Reigns to win $100. You need to put $40 on Brock Lesnar to win $100.
Okay, so yes, we see who the underdog and otherwise is, and I think we both agree that Roman is going to win this.
Yeah, there's other lines at some books here, but they probably won't be widely available. Will Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns go under or over 13 minutes?
Oh, God, that's a great question. Oh, God, I'll say over.
Okay.
I'll say over 13. It's got to be at least a 15-minute. This is the main event. I know how, these things happen where it's, a couple moves and it's done. But we've seen them go for a while. So are you saying over or under? What do you think?
No, I think under.
Really? Under 13?
13 minutes is a lot of time. Just watch any of the recent pointless matches on AEW. They all seem to go about 13 minutes. It feels like a lot.
Yeah, you're right. That Punk match was 17 minutes and it felt like 2 hours.
Yeah. Big E and Drew McIntyre. Big E is 1-20. That means you need to put on $2,000 to win $100 here, and Drew McIntyre is 8-1.
Jesus, I mean, how do they save face for Drew losing here? Like, yeah, obviously, this cannot be. He just pins Drew.
I think it is. He just pins Drew. He shakes his hand, and he goes on to SmackDown and says he wants the other belt. But
I couldn't beat the other guy. How about you?
Yeah, I've lost like all these matches, and you know they're not going to do this. They're not going to do this till the Rumble. I imagine Drew wins the Survivor Series match for SmackDown as some kind of rebuild, I would think that Drew is the only guy that you can put forward for the Rumble, and I think he can lose and then ask for his rematch in the UK pay-per-view in the SummerSlam that's coming to the UK. I mean, you could even do something where he cashes in Money in the Bank at SummerSlam, and then you could break Roman's run after 2 years and then have him win it back, because the Rock match doesn't need Roman as a 2.5-year champion. It's just bigger. And I think if you're trying to do it when and where you want it, like WWE are, I think you do want Roman having that run. I'm just concerned as to how many challenges can you actually create for Roman Reigns that I'm going to give a shit about in the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's my hardest thing to think about too. And but I mean, if you're going to do this, don't have him lose it on a fluke and win it right back the next day, because why interrupt the reign? You might, no pun intended. I mean, I'd rather see him hold it for like a way long time, so they're like, this is the longest we've ever had a champion in ages, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So moving on here, we have Becky, Sasha, and Bianca for the SmackDown Championship. I was surprised this week because I heard. I spoke about what I heard in terms of possibly being done with these two belts and possibly unifying the divisions.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that match coming up, I thought they bottled it. They've thrown this title match out for absolutely no reason. Bianca's going to win, and the title stays on Raw, and then the SmackDown title just goes to the SmackDown person, which in this match will be Sasha. But they ended up doing the disqualification finish, which is a really terrible end to Raw. So the unification is now still wide open. The betting odds for this match see Becky as the even money favorite to win. She was 1-2, which means you have to put 200 on to win 100. She's now even, so it's 100 to win 100. You have Bianca Belair as the second favorite. She's 2-1, and Sasha here is available at 4-1. For me, Sasha's the only one that can't win it. Now, Bianca would be taking the SmackDown title over to Raw, whereas Charlotte is taking the Raw title over to SmackDown. So Bianca winning this title is no different, really, to Becky winning the title. This show needs a title change. So I think Bianca is an underdog that you need to be looking at because it's completely reversible.
I completely agree, and I think that Bianca wins this, and then I think it is Charlotte and Bianca at Survivor Series, and they've already gotten into it this last week, and I think they up the stakes and say winner takes all. Both belts on the line, and this is how we get both those belts put together, because it's only one more month that those titles are on different shows, and now it could get melted together after what we saw for the end of Raw.
Yeah, I just want to be a bit careful because I didn't say that was 100% happening. I said they were looking towards a potential unification at some point. For all I know, that could be Becky versus Ronda.
This is my personal guess, and God knows I know nothing on the inside.
And that was probably the plan. But the thing is that they're losing patience with it because, you know, it's the same 4 or 5 people, and they may as well get into a situation where they can do all kinds of combinations from these matches. I mean, Lynch should win. The rule normally is that the person get pinned on TV. That's Sasha pinning Becky, so Becky should pin Sasha. That was my theory until I saw this week's show. I'll try and find out the actual info just to let you guys know. I'm doing this on Tuesday. Crown Jewel is on Thursday. We're doing this early so you have it in time for Crown Jewel. My Crown Jewel news, when I get it, will be over at thedirtysheets.com. That's where I break down all of the news, and then we break it down here, later on in the week. So that's going to be a time where you're going to want the immediate news, and that's going to be over at thedirtysheets.com, or you can go to my website, lockbetting.com, where I give out all my betting picks, and the wrestling is included there as well. Next up, Edge Rollins. Edge 1-3 favorite. That's 300 to win 100. Rollins is 2-1. That's 100 to win 200.
Yeah, I go with Edge, of course, in this one. My favorite line of this week was that they said it was 2,000 square feet of steel around them. I'm like, it doesn't seem like it would be 2,000 square feet, but that's WWE. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think they ruined what they could have had when it was Seth breaking into the house. All he did was drink from a carton and eat an apple. Like I said, I would have had him standing on the bed. I would have had him pissing on their pillows from behind. You would have seen a stream. I would have had him going through Beth's panty drawer.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. That's what I would have had him sniffing
100%. And I'm like, how lame. What else we got?
He ate an apple.
Yeah. I go, oh my God. He didn't even rip down the girls' art. Should have tore up their paintings at the least.
I mean, if you wanted to be like PG-ish, you could have had someone's ashes, right? So oh, this is Beth's grandma's ashes, and go, oops.
Oh,
and drop
yeah.
on the floor. Like PG stuff, but
I would have even had him go into the bathroom and take the top of the tank off, and then start to close the door and undo the pants, because that he could have done an upper decker.
Taking a belt off the wall and saying, "Look, guys, this is Edge's first ever WWE championship that he won," and then taking a hammer and smashing it up.
They'll go Mr. Perfect on it. I was thinking throw it in the fireplace, because he was playing with the fireplace. Melt it. Yeah, there was a ton, but
we could have melted
in charge of that program.
Could have melted the kid's art. He could have burnt the kid's artwork.
There were so many things. So did Sap say who was in charge of booking this or putting this together? Like he says, who was in charge of producing every segment? Who was in charge of this segment? Because they blew it.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably. Actually, no, it's like a creative segment, so I don't know. It's probably none of those guys that you hear.
I thought it was Bruce.
No, Bruce isn't on SmackDown for this kind of stuff anymore. It might have been Michael. It might have been Michael Hayes, but it's pretty low. It's pretty bog standard for Michael Hayes.
What, you might know this. Me and Fausti were talking about this. What is the history between Becky and Edge? I don't know, because he said, well, there's old history between us. When he was saying maybe he'll go pay Bex a visit, Edge was saying this in the ring, and I'm like, well, this is before he was around, so he probably wasn't banging her. I'm like, did they ever cross paths at all to do anything? So I was trying to wonder what this was. I'm like, well, when did Edge ever have any interaction with Becky in the past? Edge has been gone for all this time since Becky's been there.
I can't remember. I know she stunned Steve Austin and did something with him, but that was for a separate thing.
Maybe next week try to find out what the hell they're talking about.
Okay, Doudrop and Zelina Vega. Doudrop is the 1-2 favorite, and Zelina's at 6-4.
Oh, this is all I see when Zelina has this crown and everything, and she does that whole Queen of the Damned Aaliyah stuff. I think it would be perfect if she was able to do that with this crown and be that evil queen type of stuff. Unless they're all into the whole, hey, we embrace everybody, even if you're fat. So look, she's a queen. Unless they do that with old Doudrop. But I would assume that, Baszler, like you suggested to me, how about Baszler screws over Doudrop? But that's when we thought Carmella would be there.
I mean, we had Doudrop in his final. I just wasn't sure what one they'd go to. My impression was that Doudrop loses to either, because they're both very good queens. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to go for Zelina as an underdog here. The Woods Balor match. Woods is a slight favorite, obviously, because he's got all the King of the Ring publicity, or he's been talking about it publicly. He is a 4-6 favorite. That means you have to bet $60 to win 40 or $100 to win 67. And Balor is an 11 to 10 underdog, or a 6 to 5 underdog. So you need to bet 100 to win 120. Slight underdog.
This I am very lost in. I really think there's something that goes on. Like I had said, somebody gets jumped or something. I don't know how Woods would pin him clean.
What if he puts the demon paint on for the Saudis and just beats him in 2 minutes?
Oh God, I don't know how then Woods even recovers for that. Like they'd have to mention, but then again, they just forget stuff anyway. But I mean, it would have to be, oh, now Woods is all depressed, for weeks because he got destroyed and he's not a king.
I don't think from a booking.
And there's the Demon King, they call it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And the thing is that I don't think that you should have this guy talking about something he wants on social media and then giving it to him. I think it's a better story. I don't like Xavier Woods, so I never want to see this. But it makes more sense to have him lose a final and then win. Like he loses at one final and maybe even loses 2 finals. And then this is his story because he should never be WWE champion like the other 2.
Yeah,
Kofi shouldn't have been WWE champion. That's ridiculous. Where are we at? How many more do we want to do? Goldberg, Lashley, Goldberg, massive favorite here. 1 to 5, and Lashley's 3 to 1. This could be Goldberg's last match, his last match on his deal. I don't think he needs to win this, but I just don't see. I think he's just there for the Saudi, and the Saudi prince probably had Goldberg's posters. So I think he probably wins. He's going to have to win injured, and he's bad enough when he's like fully healthy.
What is he injured with?
Knee, I think. I think he got legit injured in the last match, and he's waiting for surgery, I think. God
damn. Yeah, I mean, how does he say, he's defending his son, and I'm shocked they've said so many times, I'm going to kill you. That's shocking to me. It's constantly, I'm going to kill you. So I would suspect that Goldberg has to win this match. Come on. He's avenging his son and then loses.
Yeah. And then I think we know Mansoor is going to win. And the last match is the tag titles. But RK Bro are 1 to 5 favorites, and AJ and Almost are 7 to 2. That means you've got to put $500 to win 100 on RK Bro. But I think this seems to me like a match that could open the show. And I think they'll retain the titles.
I agree with you on that one, and that one doesn't excite me at all.
Yeah, that's the unless I've missed something with my dodgy eyes at the moment. That's the whole card.
Yeah, so that is going to be your episode of the Wrestling Informer. Sorry we spoke and didn't give you news immediately, and I had a 10-minute show for you. But there's plenty of ways you could watch it for 5 minutes at a time if you've gotten this far anyway. You've gotten us shooting and doing a lot of nonsense.
As I've said, many clips out of this one because it's very crown jewel heavy. So
yeah,
I think the clips will be pretty redundant by Friday morning. So
as I said, go to my Twitter if you want to see all the stuff I'm giving away. That's at Lingus Mafia. I have everything pinned, how you could get there, and you could even get a sample of the shows that you would get on my wrestling tier. There's at least 2 shows per week, one AEW, one WWE, and when there's a pay-per-view, there's another show as well. All for $5 a month, but you want to see the things you could win because there is a ton. And I'm in the middle of talking to somebody to get even more stuff thrown in. There's not packages where it's, here's one 8x10. It's going to be a group of stuff all together. And to get all of Billy's nonsense, he has multiple places, but you really want to go to Billy, BILLIK 100 on Twitter. You got to go to his lockbetting.com and thedirtysheets.com. Is it the Dirty Sheets or dirtysheets.com, Billy?
Thedirtysheets.com.
Yeah, to get all your wrestling news. So if you don't want to hear us yammer and ramble around, you could just go there and read the news directly. And that's it for us. For Mr. Billy Body, I'm Cav Manning. We'll see you next time.